In the gospel, we come across two stories that are slightly a little bit different, but are, I believe, different in a major application altogether. And that story is the feeding of the 5,000 and the feeding of the 4,000. And you might have read some of these stories, or both of these stories. You might have come across the feeding of the 4,000 in Mark and in Matthew. But of course, you have come across all the feeding of the 5,000. And if you were like me, you might have looked at it and go, "Why are we kind of repeating the same story? It almost sounds identical." But there is, of course, major differences besides, of course, feeding of the 5,000 and the 4,000. And if you remember the story of the feeding of the 5,000, it goes how Jesus was preaching and at the Sea of Galilee, and a bunch of Israelites come to listen to him, and as they're listening to him, they all of a sudden get hungry, and the disciples bring a child over who has 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, and he prays to the Father, and he hands it out, and the people have plenty of food, and they have 12 baskets of leftovers. And that's how the story goes. They have 12 baskets of leftovers. But later on, we hear in Matthew 15, 32, and 39, and Mark 8, 1 through 9, we hear the story of the feeding of the 4,000. And this is Jesus goes down to Decapolis, which at the time is a south of the Sea of Galilee, and it's a very Gentile area. And he goes there and stays there for a few days, and as he's staying there, a group of Gentiles come, and it's about 4,000 people, and they're listening to him talk and preach. And again, it kind of goes the same thing where people are starting to get hungry, and a child is there, and he has 7 loaves of bread and a few fish. And you kind of look at this and go, well, I mean, they already saw what he did in the Sea of Galilee feeding the 5,000. Why did they kind of ask the same question? But I think the important thing is to understand why they were thinking this, because in their mind, Jesus was the Messiah to the Jews. So when he went to Galilee, he was preaching to other Jews, and he was supplying the needs of the Jewish people. Hence, we look at some of the symbols there, where here it is 12 loaves of bread, which is a representation of the 12 tribes of Israel. He was supplying the needs of the 12 tribes of Israel. With the 5,000, it's focusing on the 5,000 because of the 5 books of the Torah. So we're looking at this as the Jewish people recognizing, okay, this is all symbolic to the Jews. He's supplying the needs to the Jewish people. He's feeding the 5,000, the 12 tribes of Israel. But then we look at the Gentiles, who the Jewish people just thought were obsolete. He was also supplying the needs to the Gentiles. He was fulfilling what God wanted the Israelites to do, to reach the Gentiles, to spread his word. So God is not just the God of the Jews, he's the God of the whole entire world. He's bringing all people together. And so they're looking at this as what are we going to do now? These poor Gentiles, they have no food. And here he is doing the same thing. He gives 7 loaves of bread, and he breaks it apart, and he feeds the 4,000, and he supplies their needs. And that 7, to me, is kind of important because it's complete. So when they feed the 4,000, they have 7 baskets full of food, of leftovers, which in biblical terms, that was meant complete. So he's completing what God wanted to do, to reach not just the Jews, but the Gentiles, to have every man, woman, and child throughout the world to have the opportunity to come to Christ. And as Jesus was feeding those 4,000, and there was seven baskets full of food, he was supplying their needs and completing the mission that God had for them. So he's not just the God of the Jews, he's the God of the Gentiles. He's the creator of everyone. Every man, woman, and child, no matter what ethnicity, what race, we all have the opportunity to come to Christ and to have him supply our needs. So I just wanted to kind of reach that out. You can always comment if you disagree or if you have anything else you want to explain, but God bless you and thank you for listening.